This is Amud Yomi, Gemara and Shabbos, Daf, Gimel, Amud Beis. We pick it up on the bottom of Gimel and Aleph. We are 5 lines from the bottom at the 2 dots, and we're in the middle of this long and beautiful sugya of Haitzah. And the basic rule that we need to know, a rule that's going to resonate very strongly today, which is the 2 aspects, the 2 parts of this malacha. Which is what? Which is number 1, an akira, you have to uproot the item. Number 2, a hanacha, you have to place down the item. Now, what exactly that means, that is going to be the discussion of today. Rav me Rebbe. Hitino chavera. Hitino means to load up. If someone else gave you oichlin umashkin, so you're standing in Rosh Hashanah and someone comes over, takes the cup of coffee and places it into your hand. So you did not lift up the cup of coffee. Someone else placed the coffee in your hand. And then you walked outside. So you're holding a coffee that you did not pick up, but then you walked into Rishus Harabim. Mao, what's the halacha? What's the shayla? Explains the Gemara. Akiras gufay, akiras chayvetz v'makaymay dami. Do we say you lifted your body? You walked outside. So that's key. It's like lifting up the item itself. Umechayiv, and therefore you're liable. You're chayiv d'oraisa. You did an akira by lifting your body. You walked outside as the anacha. Oyidelma, or maybe like, or maybe it's not the same. You didn't lamaisa lift it. So this was the shayla. The Rav opposed to Rebbe. Amar le, Rebbe responds, chayiv. Ve'enoi doimet liyadai. And it's not the same thing as yadai. What does it mean, enoi doimet liyadai? As we saw in the Mishnah, that if, let's say, the Baal Abayi sticks his hand outside, and the ani comes, and the ani places something in his hand, and then the Baal Abayi pulls it in, we did not say that that is a deraisa. We did not say that moving your hand from outside to inside is a deraisa, because we said you lemaisa didn't pick it up. There's no akira. So explains Rebbe, lifting your body and walking out, that is a daraisa. However, your hand is not ma'itaima. What is the reason? Because gufoy nayich, your body is considered to be nayich. It's considered to be resting. And therefore, when you get up to walk out, it doesn't mean get up. When you walk out, it's called an akira. Masha enkein. However, on the other hand, yadai lo yinayich, your body is not considered to be, your hand, not considered to be resting. And therefore, by pulling your hand inside, it is not considered that you did an akira. Amar le Rav Chia, the Rav on the top of Gimel Amud Beis. Rav Chia says to Rav Bar Pachsi, as Rashi translates, says Ben Gedailim. Did I not tell you? When Rebbe's in one mesechta, achriti, do not ask him a shayla in another mesechta. Why? Because he might not know. He's not holding there. And Rebbe wasn't learning this sugya. But he said, Dilav de Rebbe Gavarabu, if not for the fact that Rebbe was great, Kisafte, he would have been embarrassed. Because he would have answered you something incorrect, because he's not holding in that sugya. However, but says Rav Chia Hashta, even though you were wrong, you should not have asked such a shayla, but Hashta Mia Shaber Mashani Lachalamaisi answered you properly. The Tanya, we learned in a Brisa, if someone else is giving you, someone, is loading up, is picking up something mib oid. Not that someone else gave it to you, but maybe on Friday if you pick it up. Once you get started, you bring it outside. Chayev, why? Let's just realize the fine nuance of difference. In this case, an Erev Shabbos, I pick up this cup of coffee. And then it becomes Shabbos, it's at night, and then I walk outside. Says the Gemara, I'm chayiv. Why? Akiras gufa, I pick up my body, it's akiras chayvetz dami. Now there is a fine nuance of a difference. And then in this case, I didn't pick it up. I just didn't pick it up at a time of chayiv. Or similar, someone else putting it in my hand. Amar Abaye. Continues the Gemara 2 lines down. Gimel Amid Beis. Says Abaye Pshitali, the following is Pashat. Yodai Shel Adam, the hand of a person. The case of the Mishnah, the Baal Bayis, his hand stuck outside, the Ani's hand stuck inside. Einoi is not Loi Rishus Harabim, is not a Rishus Harabim if he's standing in the Rishus Harabim. Lo Rishus Yachid if he's standing in Rishus Yachid. What does that mean? Explains Abaye. Rishus Harabim Lo Damya Miyadei Dani. From we see the case of the Yadei Dani, that when the Ani sticks his hand into the house and the Balabayas removes it from his hand, one would think, wait, maybe that's considered that the Ani is in Rosh Hashanah and the Balabayas is removing it from the hand of the Ani. The hand of the Ani is connected back to the Rosh Hashanah he's standing in. So maybe the Balabayas should be considered to have been picking something up from Rosh Hashanah and putting it in Rosh Hashanah. But we know that's not true. So see, the hand of the Ani is not considered the same Rosh as his body is in. It's not like the flip case of a Balabayas. So says Abaye, this shows me that the hand is not drawn after the body to the extent that it has the same din as the Rishos that the body is in. But Abaye asks Abaye, what about the following? Yadai shalada ma'ushetasa b'karmelis. Is the hand of a person considered a karmelis? A karmelis, or more of a intermediary rishos. It's neither rishos harabim, it's nor a rishos hayachid. Is a makaim p'tur. A makaim p'tur you're allowed to utilize to move an item from there to rishos harabim or to rishos hayachid. However, midir rabbanon, says Rashi, keying us in on the appropriate halacha, that there is an area called a karmelis, that midirabanan, you're not allowed to transfer from there to Rabim, from there to Yachid. So asks Abaye, it's good, your hand is not Rosh Rabim, your hand is not Rosh Yachid. What about a karmelis? Mika tu rabbanan ladur legabei. Did the rabbanan kinas someone, that's someone who sticks his hand into another rishos and gives it the status of a karmelis, and thereby he can't pull it back? Oy loy. If you yourself are holding something, let's say the Balabais, he's holding an item and he sticks his hand outside. Is he allowed to pull his hand in? Well, you would say, yeah, he didn't put it down. But maybe no, maybe midrabanan, we consider your hand to be like a karmelis. And therefore, since as Rashi says, we won't allow you to pull it back. Toshima says, I'll bring you a raya. If you're holding fruit and you put your hand outside into the rabbim, one brisa says also lachzira, you can't pull your hand back in. So what exactly is going on? We have two different brisas. One brisa says you can't pull your hand back in. One brisa says you could pull your hand back in. My love, says the Gemara, b'haka mifligi. This seemingly is the point of contention between these two brisas. Mar savar, one brisa holds b'karmelis damya, therefore you can't pull your hand back in. Mar savar, lav ki karmelis damya. So the Abaye's kasha, the Gemara wants to suggest smack in the middle of Gimel and Beis, the first word in line is lav. It's a machlekes of brisas. Says the Gemara, loy, the kuli am karmelis damya. Really, I'll tell you, everyone holds it's a karmelis. So why over there did one brisa say you could pull it back, one brisa say you can't pull it back? Well, like kasha, kan lemata me'asar. If your hand is under 10 tefachim, that is the first brisa that says you're not allowed to pull your hand back in, because that which is under 10 tefachim is considered within the rishos of the ground. V'kan lemala me'asar tefachim. Whereas the second brisa says your hand is above 10 tefachim, and anything above 10 tefachim has the status of rishos. Status of a makkah in Petur, as the Rishus Harabim only goes until 10 tefachim. So if your hand is under 10 tefachim, then it's true, you can't pull your hand back in. But if your hand is above 10 tefachim, then it will be considered that it is in a makkah in Petur. Teretz number 1. The Baisema Teretz number 2. They're both below 10 tefachim, so both considered to be Rishus Harabim. Valav ki karmelis dami, and everyone could agree it's not a karmelis. So why did one brisa say you cannot pull your hand back in? Kasha kan mibaid yoim. The second brisa that says you're allowed to pull your hand back in is because you put it out during the daytime. Kan mishacha shecha. The first price, you pulled your hand outside when it's night. Explains the Gemara, if you pulled your hand in during the daytime, loy kansinan rabbanon. There's no kanas, and if you pull your hand back in, mishachashecha kansia rabbanon. Says more 1 second. Hafoch adarabba, the opposite. Imcha mistabra, logic svara says the opposite. If you put your hand during the daytime, that what? If you were to put the item back on Shabbos, during the day you stuck your hand out. If on Shabbos you don't drop the item, it would not come to a daraisa because it's only half of malacha. So it would make sense. Lekansur rabbanan, there should be a kanas, and don't let your hand be pulled back in. But if you put your hand outside on Shabbos, tishadi le asili le asi behuli dechiyav chatos. It's going to bring you to a raisa. Loi katzia rabbanan. We should not make a kanas. Why? Because then it's going to be counter. Because why? Because then you're going to drop the item. Again, beautiful. If you stick your hand out on a Friday, so what happens if you drop it? It's a derabanan. So we make a kanas, and we say you're not allowed to pull your hand back in. Because the worst that's going to happen, maximum, is the derabanan. Derabanans are horrible, but it's only derabanan. But if we're playing with a daraisa, if on Shabbos you stuck your hand out, and now if you drop it, Rahman al-Itzlan, daraisa, we're going to make a kanas, you can't pull your hand back in and make you have a potential daraisa sitting in your hands. That, says the Gemara, is too much. But explains the Gemara, you know why we don't say that? And with this we conclude, the reason why we did not explain as follows, Tisha de Ravivi bar Abaye. We could answer up a Shaila of Ravivi bar Abaye, the Ravivi bar Abaye. Hidvig pas betanur, a very famous sugya. Someone took a piece of bread and put it onto the oven. The way they used to cook is a large oven. They would stick the bread onto the side of the wall. So if you put bread on the side of the wall, it's ask Abaye, are you allowed to take off the bread before it comes to a daraisa? I love you to, or they say you're not allowed to. Meaning, what's the shayla? Because to remove it is also a malacha. So do we forbid you from removing it, because that's a malacha? Or do we say, no, at least remove it to prevent your daraisa? So tifshat tura, based on the above, we should say that they did not allow you to remove it. Says the Gemara, no, haloi kasha v'tivshait, and we could still answer Abivi's kasha. There's a fundamental difference between the cases. Kan b'shoigeg, kan b'mezid. B'shoigeg, like a turabana, you didn't do anything wrong. But b'mezid, katurabana v'baisema, I divide b'shoigeg. V'hacha b'kantu shoigeg got to mezid, come mifliki. Mar savar, of course, kantu shoigeg got to mezid. Omar savar, like kantu shoigeg got to mezid. V'baisema, and a final tarasolim, like kantu l'kasha, kan loisa chatzer, kan l'chatzer hacheres. We'll stop over here. We'll pick it up in this last piece. B'siyata Shemaya in the next shiur.